Thanks for joining us today for BRMC's Healthy Connections with our special guest, Les Stephen, talking about Mended Hearts. First question, Les, what is Mended Hearts? How did this all come about?
Oh my gosh, Mended Hearts itself is an organization that now is 60 years old, believe it or not, and it grew on its own out of some of the early patients who had some of the very first heart surgeries. It started in a doctor's lobby, believe it or not, where the patients were exchanging ideas. Did this happen to you? Did you feel this? How did that? How did you get past certain things? And the doctor, very observant of him, realized that this is something other patients could use, and he encouraged them to start an organization, and a very independent organization, of just survivors, those of us who have survived heart disease and the resulting surgeries. Were able to support each other, and it became a patient-to-patient or a peer-to-peer support organization.
And you've started, based on your own experiences and having this great passion and drive to help others, you started the very first Mended Hearts in Arkansas.
The state of Arkansas. The first chapter for an organization like this is right here. Well, to our community, congratulations. It's the first. There was an interesting conversation that occurs when you start looking at all of the support organizations that we have here in our area, excuse me, and to find out that there isn't one for the #1 killer in the area, which is heart disease. And it's something that's really needed. The heart, the support that we get here from the hospital has been phenomenal from top to bottom. And we've been very, very pleased with being able to actually approach some of the patients who are like me, who were scared to death when this was happening. I've never been through this before. It's not like breaking your arm. You've watched other people have it, talk to them. When you were actually there having a heart attack and you recovered from that, which the odds are not the best for you just to recover through that. A third of the people who have a heart attack don't make it to surgery.
Wow.
It's a terrible statistic. So those of us who are survivors that far then have the next thing, which is what happens now. And that's where Mended Hearts comes in. We either can counsel in the hospital people who have had a heart attack and are about to have a heart procedure, whether it's a valve or bypass or a stent, or they have just had this procedure. And once again, there are 1,000 questions that are running through your mind once you've gone through something like this. And
you don't know what's normal and what's not. You don't know what to expect. And I'm sure this is where all of your folks can step in and help.
Well, exactly. And we are not there to give medical advice. That's not our job. We have wonderful doctors and nurses here that can give all the clinical information that you need. But I like to say we fill in the gaps that the doctors and the nurses kind of leave behind because they've never gone through this. And maybe the doctor or the nurse can tell a patient something
from a clinical standpoint,
and we can come right behind them and reinforce that by saying exactly the same thing. But in a sense, we have a different credibility because we've been there. We've actually been in that bed. We have felt those pains. We have had the anguish of watching our families go through this. And that's another wonderful part of Mended Hearts. It's not just here for the patients. Our spouses, our caregivers, whether that was the husband or the wife who was the caregiver, actually goes and counsels the family while we are visiting with the actual patient.
How wonderful.
They are going through their own heart attack experience. Those of us who have laid in the bed know that side of it. I have no idea really the anguish that my family went through. I have a sense, but only they can really tell you.
They're the only ones that experienced.
And so for them to counsel the families who are now going through that, I think that's critically important because those families have to remain strong for the patient. The patient has a long road of recovery ahead of them.
My goodness. How many folks are in this chapter now?
We are now about 33 different individuals, and that includes both the caregiver and the patients. We have now 14 who have gone through our Mended Hearts in-hospital patient visitors training program, along with the hospital's
orientation.
Orientation. So we have been accredited by both now to visit.
How wonderful to take your time to care for others, because this is just huge. As you mentioned, we have so many support groups right there at the hospital, with all our community houses and with all of the support groups that they have, but nothing for hearts. And yet, as you say, this is the #1 killer. And how wonderful that you meet. Now, you've gone through special training, very intense training, I understand.
Yes.
And talk to the gentleman that came down from Missouri that I had the real pleasure to meet once upon a time.
I think you're referring to Wayne Lawson.
Yes, I am.
Wonderful man. Wayne actually is a longtime survivor of heart disease. He had his surgery, I want to say, very close to 40 years ago. And like a number of us, he felt wonderful after his heart surgery and realized that there was something that was missing, though, in his treatment, and that was there wasn't a lot of information available for people who were going through it. So he had to search for it, found Mended Hearts, became a very active member. He is now the regional director of Mended Hearts support.
Very passionate.
Very passionate about it, as is his wife. And he and Donna make a wonderful pair, an example for those of us who are following in his footsteps as to what we should be doing to support people who are going through.
He leaves great footprints to follow. He does.
Big shoes.
Big shoes.
Very big shoes. But through his mentoring, his training, his encouragement, starting anything like this is not easy. And it is not one person that does it. It is just a number of people contributing to a common goal, and that is to help others.
Right. I'm just thrilled that this is now available in Mountain Home. Now, if somebody wanted to research some of this information, they could go online on the internet and take a look at the international site for Mended Hearts.
MendedHearts.org has a wonderful site that's available for people who are just interested in that. We also have a hotline number, which here locally is area code 870-321-0360.
Okay.
Like the compass.
0360.
421-0360. And we meet monthly at the Marook Center on Aging, right next to the hospital there. We meet every third Wednesday at 11:30. We usually sit down and we have a healthy lunch. More than anything, we have a wonderful session of just sharing. Here's what I've learned, here's a book I've read, here is something that's going on, is this normal? It's really a support group, and we also have a monthly speaker that has ranged from everything from hospital nutritionists to physicians who have come in and talked to us again. And it's been interesting. I think that those of us who have done well after surgery have been able to communicate back to the caregivers some information that they could use in treating of their patients. So it's a wonderful synergistic relationship between us, the patients, and the caregivers.
I cannot say enough about how proud I am to be part of BRMC, to be able to be part of programs such as this with the Mended Hearts. Now, if someone wanted to contact the Marook Family Education Center on Aging, could they then come to one of these meetings? Would they be, are they open to anyone that has questions about heart?
Yeah, whether or not you've had heart disease in your family or not, or maybe you have a friend or a member of the family who lives somewhere else. Of course, if you've had it yourself, we would welcome you to come to our meetings. We call it kind of the exclusive club that you really don't want to be a member of.
Nobody wants to be a part of, yeah. You want to be a part of.
But if you are, we're there to support you. But even if you have family members that are maybe in some other city and you just want some information, we're there to help as well.
Wonderful. We've got a lot more to share with you when we come right back after this break. Don't go away. Let's learn more about Mended Hearts that's right here in your community.